Before the advent of the internet, life used to be a lot simpler, but now that data is considered to be one of the richest resources in the world, things have become a lot more complicated. Companies now have to find some or other way to organize things, which is a lot more difficult than it might seem since data is in a constant state of variance. And it's with that thought in mind that businesses the world over are now turning to use of augmented analytics to ensure that they're able to stay on top of the data they have. So if you wanted to know more about augmented analytics and what this process means for the future of company life, you've come to the right place, as we're about to take a deep dive into how this may help us all in the days to come. Just be sure to strap yourselves in though, as things are about to get awfully technical. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. Why do we need augmented analytics? Unlike other resources like oil and coal, data is forever growing, especially in the age of the internet that we currently live in. This means that businesses have more and more data being produced every minute, which causes a number of massive data sets that are both complex and difficult to deal with. The only way that a company can thrive in such an environment is to sift through those bundles of data to uncover the insights which are valuable, separating them from their brothers and sisters which are, for all intents and purposes, useless to the business. For the past couple of years, companies have been using all forms of BI and analytics solutions to derive these insightful visualizations from the data bundles that they possess. But more often than not, these tools fail to give out the correct insights. Think of it as the company taking a shot in the dark and hoping that the stray bullet ends up hitting something useful. It must also be said that this method of sifting through data streams is both lengthy and tedious. Taking the form of a manual process, human error is quite the variable that needs to be contended with as well. And even if the entirety of the process is successful with no mistakes being made, businesses still struggle to sort through the streamlined data and decide upon which bundles to actually act on. So as you can see, as useful as BI and other forms of analytics have been when it comes to sorting of data, there's no doubt that a lot of room was left for improvement, which is what brings us to the concept of augmented analytics. What is augmented analytics? Simply put, augmented analytics is considered to be the latest and greatest in data management and sorting. In essence, the process is one consisting of the integration of artificial intelligence and natural language processing elements into the BI and analytics processes that companies use to sort data before. This makes the process of preparing data, discovering insights, understanding correlations in the data, and sharing these correlations in a streamlined way far more possible. It's thus through the process of machine learning and natural language generation that augmented analytics as a process automatically analyzes data bundles and converts the result into data-oriented and detailed language-based insights. This not only removes human error from the organization of data, but streamlines the process and allows the company to not only see what insights are available to use, but which insights will be useful as well. Suffice it to say, the process of sorting through bucket loads of data has now become a lot faster than it used to be. In fact, it's because of augmented analytics that companies are able to keep up with the rate at which data is being replicated, which produces a better organizational output than anything we have previously seen. The tools of the trade. As complicated and new as such a procedure might seem, creators do their best to ensure that their tools of augmented analytics are as user-friendly as possible. This means that companies don't necessarily need to know about the complex workings of artificial intelligence along with language generation software. All that's really required is for the employee of that company to be trained in the use of the simplified user faces of the processing tools in question. It is, in other words, by the reading of the various user faces of tools that employees are able to get to the data they most require, depending on the purpose of their search. A great way to think about augmented analytics is by referencing a site that we all use from time to time, but never truly think of in much detail. By Googling something, we are all making use of a simplified interface to search through an insane amount of data. Rather than printing out the different home pages found across the web and searching through them manually, Google uses its algorithm to order these websites based on our very own search parameters. And while the process is pretty complex, if you really look into it, we simply look at the links generated by the search, continue on with our lives. And it's in this way that the process of augmented analytics makes it easier for a company to find the data bundles that will most help it in making a certain decision. What can augmented analytics analytics do? One of the most useful analytics tools that comes with augmented analytics is the ability to identify hidden trends in data at the speed of light. In other words, the insights obtained from this augmented process don't just tell a business what happened, but why it happened as well. Since this why used to be left up to the interpretation of each and every person who came across the data before augmented analytics, we think it's safe to say that the process has resulted in a lot more consistency in the business world. Companies are no longer forced to make decisions on a whim, as the generation of data through augmented analytics also brings with it the designation of relationships between data points. The fact that tools of augmented analytics also spit these various relationships and data bundles out in ready-to-read language also shouldn't be downplayed. Companies used to have to hire specialized employees to not only sift through the data, but stare at statistics to make these connections themselves. The fact that we now have tools of the trade which make use of machine learning to come to these conclusions is absolutely amazing. It's as if companies had continued to hire these specialized employees, except that these employees now work at the speed of light and never make a mistake. Now, that's an upgrade if we've ever heard of one. Augmented analytic tools also enable companies to ask the user face simple questions when querying the data that they have in front of them. This means that employees can easily derive insights based on the particular questions they ask. Once answers have been given, the employee can even go further by asking the system in place to give recommendations based on that specific answer. Once more, it's like having a specialized employee at your fingertips, but at a much lower cost to the company, of course. Essentially, every company that makes use of augmented analytic tools can expect better and quicker results, in-depth analysis of hidden trends and patterns in the available data, actionable insights, and automated recommendations, as well as faster and improved decision-making. Since time is money in corporate America, a company would be shooting itself in the foot by refusing to use this incredible set of tools. What does the future of augmented analytics look like? As you can already tell, augmented analytics is slowly but surely becoming a must-have tool for businesses and is set to save a lot of company time and energy. Since the process of machine learning and language generation will both simplify and accelerate the preparation, cleansing, and standardization of data, this will allow business to focus of their attention on the overall analysis and implementation of recommendations. Just how sorting of data as an entirely physical process was replaced by the electronic process of physically sorting through bundles, augmented analytics is set to take the middleman completely out of the procedure, giving companies all the information they request in the blink of an eye. Just keep in mind that this doesn't mean that BI and analytics will become null and void, as it's not like augmented analytical tools are replacing those processes. This should rather be seen as the process of BI and analytics being integrated with augmented analytics, placing a quick and accurate machine in the place of a tired and bored employee. It must also be said that augmented analytics will enable new insights and data to be accessible, which is sure to create a number of business practices we have not yet discovered to make things easier in the corporate world. Expect a wide array of devices and interfaces spread across mobile phones, chat box, and voice-enabled virtual assistants. It's possible to imagine the situation in which you need to know what the annual return of the company is, for example, and rather than having to look it up, you turn to your virtual assistant and simply ask the question, being given the answer in just a few seconds. Who knew that the future was looking so bright? Should we be worried about a future with augmented analytics? The use of augmented analytics truly has no negative effects on a company making use of the tool, as it serves to do nothing other than help the company make decisions purely on the data gathered. That being said, this does have the effect of taking human beings out of the decision-making process to a certain extent. So if a company wants to protect their business from being completely driven by data by retaining the emotion that human beings often bring to the table, that company could make use of the tools of augmented analytics, but leave the eventual decision in the hands of the specific project manager. Otherwise, companies are said to become even more deadpan than they are today. Some experts have also raised concerns about future companies' over-reliance on the tools of augmented analytics. Although there is no danger at the moment, there's no doubt that augmented analytics as a process is going to change in the years to come. The process has only been birthed recently after all, so as these tools become easier to use and change become more intrusive towards members of the general public, dangers might arise regarding the protection of personal information and breach of security. We've seen how an over-reliance on gaming design systems of augmented reality have resulted in security breaches. Just think of Pokemon Go for an example. But as of right now, there seems to be nothing to worry about. What do you think about the use of augmented analytics? Let us know in the comments section down below.